Alright, welcome Jerez setup guide and track guide. I had to Google that. That was not my first guess at the pronunciation. So, iRacing setups, first couple of races, they've been pretty decent. I found I had to change a few things. This one, though, I found I had to change a lot. I did not like the iRacing setup at all. Some really big changes: brake balance, ride height, toe in, camber, and spring rate in the rear. And then the really big one is the gears. iRacing setup has it for the gear stack is tall. I changed that to standard. I found that was a lot more comfortable. So give that a try if you're struggling for time. Give it a few good honest laps, to get used to it, because it is quite a bit different. Let me know in the comments below if you liked it. 16 liters. I think that gets you to that should get you to the end. 15 maybe. I have not checked. I think you might need more than 3 liters for quali. This is a longer track. So yeah, we'll get to the track guide, the corners in slow-mo as usual, and then run it out at full speed. Do keep in mind this is using my setup, so if you're using the iRacing setup, it's going to change a little bit. Um, the gear stack is different, so some of the corners will be done in a different gear, and some of the braking points will be a little deeper with the brake bias change. So just be aware of that. So here we go. Remember, hit that like and subscribe if you found this helpful. So coming into turn 1, 4th gear, looking for this little pull out here, braking down pretty hard into 1st gear. Again, tall stack, that might be 2nd gear, but braking down hard into 1st. I, for some inexplicable reason, held it in 2nd gear instead of braking down into 1st earlier. That gave me a little kick in the rear. I had to do a little counter steer and missed the apex here a little bit, so don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. That cost me a little time, but actually not terrible amount. And then just working up the power, getting up into 3rd. Most of the corners on this track are late apexes, so don't apex early. That's a good rule for life. And on this track, it's really important that you don't do that. You're going to have to lift a few apex early on exit, and that costs you a tremendous amount of time. So most of these are late apexes. So looking for the red markers here, shifting down into 1st. Again, pretty hard on the brakes on this one. It's downhill. So yeah, pretty hard on the brakes so you can pick up the power as early as possible. You want to get on the blue curbs here. I get a little bit onto the green. Probably didn't need to do that. And then just picking up the power as early as possible, unwinding the wheel using all of the track here. A lot of off tracks on this track. As a general rule, just keep 2 tires over the white line and you're going to be safe from getting that X or a slowdown. You can use on almost all of these corners, you can use the blue area. Just keep a couple tires over the white line and you're good. So yeah, working it into 3rd and into 4th. So coming up here on cold tires, this might be a little bit of a lift. I don't think so, but maybe depending on track temp. But yeah, working our way up into 4th, and again, it's a late apex, and you really want to use all of the track. You want to get onto this solid blue stuff, again, keeping your tires on the track, and that really cuts the corner. If you run this wide, you are going to probably get an X, and if you get into that sand much, you're going to have a really bad day. So it's really important to get into that blue part of the curb. So already back up into 4th, and looking for this blue bit of paint jutting out here from the access lane. So pretty hard on the brakes in real time. Looks like I'm, in real time I'm braking just a little bit before it. down into third gear, a good blast of brakes on entry, so you can just sort of trail brake in and pick up the throttle as early as possible. This is leading to the straight. If you get this corner wrong, it is going to be so punishing coming down that straight, especially if there's any cars behind you. They are just going to murder you. So picking up the throttle, and again, it's a really late apex. You're looking kind of for the rise. Here is really where you want to get into the blue curb and use all of that so you can really cut the corner and straight line it as much as possible. Again, if you apex early here, you're going to have to lift now, and then that's real trouble. And if you run wide, you're going to get onto that sand, and that's real trouble. And you can use this green stuff, and this corner here you can cross the white line. You don't get an X, which is kind of surprising. I think the rule is if your right tire crosses over the actual blue and white curb, then you get the X. So just watch out for that. But you can use a lot of the track on that one. So, missed it there. Looking for that 100 board. Now, just one thing I tried later that I think I'm going to be doing in the future. I'm on the blue and white curb here, thinking I'm opening up the corner, but I think I found it more comfortable to keep all four tires on the pavement. You can brake later, so you can brake a little bit past this 100 board if you've got all four tires on the pavement. Having two tires on this curb actually reduces the effectiveness of your braking, and I think that's actually worse. It's a really tight corner, so opening it up doesn't really help you all that much, so give that a whirl. I think that's the way I'm going to be going in the future. So really hard on the brakes, down into first gear. And again, this is just a really tight corner that keeps going and going. You want to get onto the blue curbs. Again, I think I catch a little bit of the green here, which maybe isn't quite ideal. And then just opening the wheel up as much as possible and getting up to the gears as quick as you can. And this one is full out. There's not really a good marker for turning in, maybe the orange tires here, and then just it's full throttle. And again, you want to use this inside blue solid patch, get a tire on there just to cut the corner as much as possible and keep the wheel as straight as possible. And this one in fourth gear, looking for the end of the blue tires here. I'm a little bit earlier than that in real time. It looks like I'm a lot closer. Down into third gear. Good blast of brakes, so it's the same thing, so you can pick up the throttle as early as possible. This is a pretty good little bit of straight coming up, and just easing on the power, and again looking for that solid blue strip, getting a tire on it just to sort of straighten this corner as much as possible. I could have took a little bit more than that, ran a little wide there. Yeah, I didn't even use all the track here, so again, just watch out for that sand and crossing over the white line there. I think you do get that X. And then looking for this blue and white, I'm not sure what this is, but the blue and white thing here. Third gear, I should have been up into fourth because I kind of messed up that corner, but just before the part, the blue and white here, breaking down into second. Pretty good on the brakes again, just so you can slow the car down and pick up that throttle as early as possible, because this is a pretty fast section. Again, keep it off that green part, that unsettles the car, and then just making use of the whole track here. Shifting up into third, shifting up into third, or no, I guess holding it in second, and then it's just a lift. You don't need to brake here, and basically you're looking to turn in just before the solid white strip, and just a lift, getting on the power as early as possible. This one you can use a little bit of that green curb. It actually kind of helps rotate the car a little bit. And then working up into third using all that track, just keeping your wheels inside the track. And then looking for this other red paint here, braking just before it in third gear down into first. Now you can brake later into this corner, but I'm braking a bit earlier down into first because this time I do want to take the green curb. If you brake later, if you're really good on the brakes, you might be able to still make that green section. But if you brake later, you can still make the corner. You're not going to get on the green stuff. You'll be on the curbs. But I do prefer getting on the blue and white curbs. But I do prefer getting on the green curb. I find that's a little bit better. And then just going over the curb, just a little lift as you get onto the curb. You don't want to spin the tires up while you're getting onto it. And then making use of this green one as well. It does unsettle the car. It does take a little bit of practice. You might spin it the first couple of times you try it, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite doable. It's not too terribly difficult. And then again, even just getting a little bit of the curb there, I maybe got a little too much on that one. But taking some of that curb, again, just trying to straight line that whole chicane. And then this is basically almost one corner coming out of there. As soon as you get the wheel straight, shifting up into third, and then again just before the solid white patch here, you're turning into the next corner. And again, wanting to cut the track as much as possible and using that solid patch of the blue strip there. Just straight lining it, minimizing the steering inputs. Now I'm doing this, I'm normally racing in VR. So it's a little tricky to see on the monitor here, but basically looking for the solid white line at the beginning of the pit entry as the braking point. Yeah, so pretty hard on the brakes, shifting down into first gear, and this is a tricky corner. You can basically see you're braking, you're going downhill, and then when you hit this solid patch of white on the curb, that's kind of where it's flattened out, and then you start to go uphill. And basically you want to get the car really slowed down, and as you hit the flat part of this hill, you want to just be rolling in. You don't want to really be picking up the throttle. You don't want to be braking hard. If you're doing either of those things, the back end's really going to want to step out on you. So right through this solid white section, you want to basically just be letting the car roll in, and then once you get to the blue and white curb, starting to pick up the throttle, and getting in tight against the curb here, and then running the car out wide using all of the track on the right. And then work your way up the gears, of course, and that's pretty much 153 flat. So I obviously left some time on the table, and the track was quite hot, so I think that's pretty solid time on a track of this temp. But definitely the 152s is definitely a target on a cooler track. So give that a try. Let me know in the comments if you like that setup, and if you have any suggestions for that. Anyways, we'll see you next time. We'll run this out at full speed. Good luck out there.